Hello. Welcome to the Mother Days podcast. I am your host, Sarah Wright Olsen.
And I'm Teresa Palmer. Woohoo! Yay!
Woohoo!
We're very excited.
Hi, Daisies.
It's a party in here. We have an awesome guest who we love so much.
Love so much. I'm so excited. I have one of my best friends in all the world with us today. I feel so lucky to have her here. You guys, we have supermodel, mother of three.
I love it. She just
feels
laughs.
so funny. I'm sorry. It just feels so funny to say that. Because my kids are like, Behati. They're like Dusty and Gio's mommy.
Different lifetime.
So it's just funny to say that. Different lifetime. Yes. Okay. And then philanthropist. She has her amazing organization that she works with called Save the Rhino Namibia. If you don't know it, check it out. Also, she is a owner of Calirosa, which is an amazing tequila brand.
It's so
we
good.
were drinking it the weekend. And just all around beautiful, beautiful human who I am just feel so grateful to have in my life. So welcome Behati Prinsloo Levine to the show.
This intro, I mean, I should come on every week.
You're like, I'm liking this.
I love to make a big
I
intro.
love it.
I'm like, give me.
It must be so awkward for people sitting there being like,
I know.
I would be mortified. I'd be like, please.
Do I react?
Are you like, yeah, that's me.
Like,
I'm the
yes,
supermodel.
that's me.
Yeah. Don't forget Victoria's
Say
Secrets.
more.
But anyway, not a big deal. Oh my God.
We would never forget
Don't ever
that.
forget that.
That's right, baby.
Sarah has been telling me about you for so long because she's
Same.
like, you remind me so much of B. You remind me so much of B. You guys are going to be soul sisters. You're amazing. Blah, 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 blah. She didn't say I'm amazing. She said you're amazing. And she kept saying, I was like, you're amazing. I was like, thanks, Sarah.
I also think
know.
you're amazing. But yes, keep going.
Well, thanks. But she was like, you guys need to meet. This has to happen. I basically live in a different country most of the time. So finally, we actually met at Sarah's 40th birthday. It was a surprise birthday party. Well done, Eric.
Well
for pulling that
done.
off. Well
Seriously.
done. I cannot believe no one blew it. We were
I
all
know.
afraid to blow it. We were all like, should we text her? Do we text her? Should we just say happy birthday as though we're just going to see her at some point today? Or do we just say, we're seeing you at the girls' dinner on the weekend? I was so nervous.
I was so nervous too.
gonna be the
And
one.
like you weirdly you're even like, wait, should I even text her happy birthday? Like maybe she's going to think that I'm weird. And then Adam's like, you need to just be normal and text her happy birthday. And then I was like, oh, but now I should say more like, I wish I could see you today. Because I mean, why wouldn't I? Because I wouldn't do that normally.
Yes.
Anyway.
Oh my God. For your surprise party, Adam was coaching me through the whole thing because I get really nervous about blowing it. And Adam was like, you need to write her right now and tell her you can't come to the dinner. And I was like, oh my God, she's going to be so sad. Okay. So I like wrote her and I was like, I'm really sorry I can't make it to your dinner. And I was like, for a whole 24 hours, I had to live with
But also,
that.
it's so funny because most people think that they so closely ruined a surprise and in hindsight, like me or you,
Yes.
I had zero. People didn't even text me that day and I didn't even think, oh, they're covering for something.
I know,
you know?
same.
It was just like going on with my day.
You just
But
get so caught up in like taking the kids to school.
I feel like I do though. I like only because Mark is notorious for surprising me. He surprises me almost every birthday. So when he's like not surprising me, I'm always like, yeah, like don't worry.
You're
I already
actually
know that
surprised when he
everyone's gonna
doesn't
show up at
surprise
this big
you.
party. Yeah, legitimately.
Oh, you didn't throw me a surprise this year?
I was like, wait, what? And then I keep thinking the surprise is coming. And then he's like, oh, happy birthday. I'm going to bed. I'm like, oh, okay. so funny.
no, but I'm so happy to meet you too, because Sarah's been doing the same to me and always talking about you. So when we finally met at the birthday, I feel like we all just clicked. It was so great. It was just like
lots
it
of
was
lols.
love at first sight. Lots of lols.
It was lots of so many. I scream,
actual out loud ones,
giggling off to the side. Anyway, it was so funny, and it's been so nice meeting you. And you know what's so funny? So I used to grow up, I really wanted to be a model. That was my thing that I wanted to do when I was little. I was like, I want to be a model. And I used to watch, they had FTV. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, Fashion TV.
I mean, of course you had Fashion TV. Girl.
I wasn't allowed to Christian in my home.
Yes. That would corrupt your poor Christian mind.
Way too. Oh my God. Too many nipples.
Oh my God. I used to like wear my stepmom's like high heels and I would like strut down the hallway and watch FTV. But I remember seeing you, Behati. I don't even know if it was on FTV. Maybe it wasn't because I feel like that was probably done by the time you were modeling. But I remember seeing this girl and I was like, who the hell is that? Like that girl's got spunk. She is like, you were like dancing down the catwalk. You gave this little wink. I was like, this girl's got personality. Not only is she so banging beautiful and hot and warm, like you just exuded like something unique. You were so unique and spunky. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's cool. That chick is so cool. Like I want to be friends with her. I remember seeing you like years ago and I would watch those shows like the Victoria's Secret show and I was like, oh, she's by far my favorite. And it's so I always used to think that. And it's so funny because like even with Sarah, when I saw a picture of Sarah so many years ago and I was like, this girl's awesome. Like there was something about her and I was like, the same thing happened with you. And then when I met you, I was like, oh, this girl's dope.
You're manifesting
like a
friends.
cool chick. I know. I seriously think that I have. And I have manifested friends that I didn't want to be friends. You know who I'm talking about, Sarah. Yes. Remember that person that we hung out with and she was on my manifest board? And then I was like,
you're like, no.
You're like, actually, wait.
That's a bad move. That's a bad move.
I was like, hang on. This is the wrong fit.
Yeah,
so I wish one day we could tell that story, but we definitely can't, Sarah.
No, cannot. No.
Definitely can't.
That person.
Oh,
sorry.
God.
Anyway.
So, at the party, me and Behati and Nikki Reed were sitting around and we were talking about lots of things. But there was one thing in particular we were talking about, which was birth stories. And we were all sharing our different birth stories and Bea was telling us about like all her births. You've got 3 kids. And I sat there like mouth agape at these beautiful stories and the progression of like where you were with birth when you first gave birth to where you ended. And I just thought it was so inspiring. And I was like, I really hope you come on the podcast. And then you said that you would. And I just feel like you have so much to share and just jump in. Tell us, just start wherever feels comfortable starting. But your story is so unique and remarkable.
Maybe take us back to like your first and just sort of like, let's talk through 1 and 2 a little bit because that'll kind of set the stage for 3.
So I got pregnant with my first when I was 27 and really didn't know much about, didn't like think about birth or, you know, how I would want a birth to look like. I always thought, I'm going to have boys because I'm a boy mom. It turns out I'm a girl mom. But I was like, I'm going to have so many boys because I'm a tomboy and this is what I'm going to do. And that's what I was thinking about when I, thought about having kids. So when I got pregnant, I had one friend that had a kid. And that was like my one kind of, lens into it. So I decided, I was like, I'm going to watch some things on birth. So I watched the Business of Being Born. And I was like, that was my first kind of window just into the business of birth.
Wow.
And I have goosebumps because I'm sitting there, I'm 27. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, who am I anymore? Like, I just came off the runway at Victoria's Secret. Now I'm like looking up birth stories and I'm like, how do I want my birth to look like? And I'm like nervous and Adam and we were just both like kids still, And so anyway, I looked at that and I just also decided I'm like, I'm not going to do any research. I'm just going to like go for it. I'm just going to let my body do it. I'm like, if so-and-so, and I'm thinking of other people that I know that I don't know, but like celebrities. So I'm like, if she could have done it, I can do it. You know?
I can do it.
So I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to research it. I watched the movie, but I didn't go to any like mommy and me or pregnancy things, or I didn't do any breathing, you know, classes. And everyone's like, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? And I was just like, I'm not. And I had an amazing OB and I got a doula because that's kind of where it goes, right? People are like, are you going to have a doula? Are you going to do this? I'm like, oh, like, what is that? Why do I need one?
I guess.
So at the end of my pregnancy, I really didn't know what I wanted still. I was like, I want an experience because I've watched these shows and I've watched a lot of natural births. And I was like, that would be such a beautiful thing to do. But mentally, I wasn't ready. You know, I just wasn't in that mind space. So I heard about the walking epidural at Cedars. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go in between and I'm going to get the walking epidural. And I think that's where my plan ends, you know? And I just remember my doula is like, look for the mucus. So I go into labor. Of course, my first kid too, she's on my due date. Like on my due date, I go into labor and I'm freaking out. Because I remember sitting on the toilet and like starting to, I don't know. I think I was like, I think that's the mucus plug. I don't know. And I started feeling really light contractions. And I started Googling breathing, how to breathe through.
How to breathe.
When you give birth. Because I was like,
like,
shit, I didn't prepare for this. Like, maybe I should do it right now. So I'm freaking out.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, Adam, let's really quickly look at like breathing techniques. Like, how do I breathe?
Oh my God.
You know, like, what is it? Lamaze? What is it called? Lamaze?
Well, there's so many different ones. There's calm birth, there's Lamaze.
Yeah, I think it was Lamaze. So that's kind of what I was like, oh my gosh, I need to figure out what to do. And I would say like all day, I kind of started feeling, you know, slight contractions, and I had an amazing doula, and she ended up coming over, I think at like 9 p.m. and that's when I started really feeling crazy contractions
ramping up.
And also just the nerves, right? Like, I don't know if that happens to everyone, but like once I really felt the contractions coming and I knew this is it, like the nerves, my stomach was a knot. I was just like, I couldn't leave the bathroom too. I was just so stressed out, like anxious, not stressed out, just so anxious.
Yes.
And Adam, I remember we lived in Beverly Hills at the time, and he was like, someone told me to eat a lot of food before we go to the hospital because one of us will faint. Maybe, and it's usually the husband that will faint. So I'm just going to order Craig's. So he's ordering so much food. And I am, he's like, he knows what I like. So he orders all this like pasta and pizza and all this food. And I'm
oh my God, so much.
In labor.
Like,
so I'm like,
eat.
I don't even want to smell it. I'm like, please get it away. He eats all of it. All of it. Like, that's the day we realized Adam is a stress eater. Never knew.
Yes.
Never knew.
Never knew.
But cut to my water actually breaks, like not breaks, but it kind of like leaks out. And my contractions they are back to back and fast. And my doula was like, I think we should go to the hospital. And I was like, yep, I think so too. Let's go. And we get to the hospital and they check me. And I think I'm like 8 centimeters dilated.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Wow.
Between 6 and 8.
Such a celebration.
So I'm like, but I'm panicking too, because I'm like, I want the walking episode. Yes. Like, I like had this thing in my head. I need this thing too. So they're like, we're not sure we're gonna get him here. You might be too late, but let's see, you know. And I just remember it being so chaotic. It was so chaotic. Everybody's poking me and putting things in me, and I was like, this is really stressful. And Adam is like in the corner, kind of, you know, trying to help me, but it's just this kind of chaoticness. And they finally give me, so they put me on the bed and they're like, okay, you know, if you get a contraction, you can't move. We're putting the needle on your back. They put the needle on my back. And kid you not, 5 minutes late, not even 5 minutes later, I'm like, I start screaming at the nurse. I'm like, I'm pushing. My body's pushing. I'm pushing. Like, I'm not pushing, but it's pushing. Like, I was freaking out. And I was like, I need a push and I don't know. Like, I have no control over it. It was the first, I didn't know that, like, sensation or that thing happens, you know? And
oh my God.
So I go into active labor with nothing. And I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, like, and Adam's sitting next to me. And I think when I was pushing, instead of blowing out, I was holding my breath. And the doctor's like, or the nurses, let your breath go, let your breath go. And Adam's like, I think you should let your breath go. And I was like, what? Excuse me?
Oh my God.
I'm like, you want to do this?
And he's like burping up his pasta.
He's trying to do it so delicately. I think if you wouldn't mind.
You're like, what? And you're like,
I was just like, I gave him a look because I was like, really, dude? Like, I don't know what's happening to me. I think I'm dying. Like, I don't know. So I don't care how I'm breathing right now. So I'm in this like chaotic place, and also I have a video of it because all he was doing was taking video because he was like, I felt so useless that all I did was just like, video it.
But at this point, did the needle, like, did you get the epidural or no?
So I gave birth in 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
So it wouldn't have kicked in.
It didn't kick in. It did kick in, I think, afterwards because I felt the ring of fire. I went through the whole, like every single thing. And now looking back, I definitely, if it kicked in, it was like just the edge was being taken off, you know?
For the like placenta. Or
exactly.
something.
I think like when because I tore and I think by the stitching, I didn't feel that. So I feel like that by that time.
Wow. Well, that's perfect.
Good. Yeah, by that time. But also the whole time I'm in, labor, Adam has to go to the bathroom really bad because he ate everything.
Oh no.
And he tells his story all the time. Wow. So as I'm like with my legs up, getting like, stitched up, and I'm like the baby, and he's like, I need a bathroom, to the doctor. And she's like, there's one right behind me. He goes, no, far away.
He's like, no.
Very, very far away.
I die.
Of course, like if you know us too, it's like the two of us just like me not, planning anything, and then right at the last minute freaking out that I did it, and then him overeating and then needing to go to the bathroom. And like, it's just like the visual perfect. Is just so insane.
It's so good.
So good.
So I had this birth, and as amazing as it was, and as amazing as the experience was, I got pregnant right after.
Wow.
How far after?
Like 6 months, I think. 6 months after.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's when I realized how scarred I was by this experience, because I was so scared that I cried the minute I found out I was pregnant. I didn't cry of happiness, or like I was happy because I always knew I wanted more kids, but I cried out of like pure fear and anxiety of the birth. So my pregnancy was great, and I went through it, and I think it went a lot quicker just because you have a toddler running around too and all of that stuff. Yeah. And again, I wasn't really thinking about what I wanted it to be. All I knew is I want all the drugs. I want to get there 30 hours before. I don't want to feel anything. I want to numb myself. I just like wake me up when it's over kind of thing, Yeah. But that also made me really sad. And I felt really like, it can't be like this. There has to be a different way, but I was so in it already. So my second birth, it started very much like my first one. I think usually I would start labor or like contractions around 8 p.m. And then I had Dusty at 5 a.m. in the morning, and Gio was 4:13 in the morning. So my births are so similar.
That's incredible.
Crazy. So with her, I kind of knew it all came on the same way, the same time, everything. And I had the same doctor and the same, what do you call it? Doula. And so I felt comfortable, but I told them, I was like, that I'm going to feel one contraction. I'm in the car. I'm in the hospital. Give me all the things. I want to feel nothing.
Yes.
So I got there and it was a crazy different experience birth. Like I got the epidural. It only numbed one side of my body for a long time.
Oh, shit.
So they kept having to move me around and I couldn't move around. And it was really tough. But I mean, I think in the moment I was just relieved and I was just like, I just can't wait for it to be over and I meet my baby. And like, I just want to not think about this time because I was so, I mean, when you watch the video of me giving birth with Dusty, I am screaming like on the top of my lungs, like using every fiber of my being, like screaming through. Anyway, so poor Gigi, she came into this world and I think I was like joking with Adam on the side when they're like, I'm like, how am I going to know that I should push? Like, because I didn't realize also the amount, like how strong an epidural is. I think I just didn't know how strong it was and like literally takes out everything. And all I felt was pressure. And so they would tell me when to push. They would tell me my legs were like on, like strapped into two things. I couldn't move my body, you know, my lower body.
Wow.
I was talking to Adam and they're like, okay, push in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, push, you know, big push. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
So disconnected. I felt so disconnected from the whole thing and felt really sad. And when she was finally born, just not being able to move, not being able to walk around, for so long. You have a catheter. It's just such a crazy thing that I didn't really realize, you know, because of my anxiety. It was just so crazy about my first birth that I was just, I don't know. And I felt, now looking back, I'm always so sad because I'm like, I really missed out on connecting with her through that, you know?
Yeah.
But it is what it is. You know, we all go through.
It is what it is. And also, I mean, we say this all the time, but like every single birth is so different. And like you needed that for some, like that was something that you were like, I can't, like I have to do it this way. And that's okay. Like, and then you have, you know, the experience you had with Dusty and now it's different from the experience you had with Gio. And then you had another experience that's totally different than the other two.
And I think it's amazing that you're right, Sarah. Like they're all so different. And there are people listening right now being like, that was me. That was my experience. Thank you so much for sharing that. Like and also you felt, the first one you felt out of control. And then the next one you're like, no, I'm going to be in control. Like you're empowered to make these choices. And then you look back on it and you're like, okay, so I didn't love the first experience being out of control. I didn't like being so in control that I was disconnected that now you were like, all right, now I know what I really want. So it's actually pretty empowering that you came in, you told them this is exactly how I want to birth. This is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So the disconnection, when she came out, were you like, did it just feel very surreal? Because I was just at a birth with a friend of mine who wanted a natural birth that ended up with an epidural and the catheter and all this. And she was shell shocked. I saw her face and I was like, I'm looking at someone who's like completely in shock.
I really was. I remember holding her and also I think from the drugs, because they're so strong, I was shaking, like uncontrollably shaking. And couldn't, and it was freezing and I couldn't get hot and I was holding her and I was like, this is crazy. Like I feel so, again, like out of control because my body is just now in a different way. But I did feel, there's that disconnect and just that shell shockness when you see their face because you're like, there was no journey. It's just kind of popped out. You know, and you're like, wait, are we ready to meet each other yet? I don't know.
Are we doing this?
Oh my God.
This feels a little fast. But also that was her whole whole thing though, B, her whole entry into this world was fast. Like she was a soul circling you that was like, all I need is for him to sneeze on her. That's it. Like just sneeze on her and I'm in.
Yeah.
Like, and then she was like, boom, this is my chance. And like, she like,
and is she like that?
Yeah.
Is she like,
oh, yes.
She's also just a little firecracker. So funny.
Yes.
So like in the moment.
So
like,
funny.
Yeah. She's really, her birth definitely like suits each one. I'm like, okay. The first one really put me through it. Oh my God, she's still putting me through it. And the second one,
oh my gosh.
you know, yeah, it's so funny. It's such an amazing experience. Like, and having, you know, the other thing is just to have natural births, right? Even though however it went, I'm always so thankful too that I kind of got what I wanted. You know, although my experiences and how it happened was really crazy and maybe not what I expected, but I hear so many of my friends, so many people that just don't get that, or, you know, things happen that's so out of your control, you know, after and before that. With all my experiences, I'm just always so grateful that I had a healthy birth. I had a healthy pregnancy. You know, I had all these things that I still to this day, I every morning I wake up and I'm like, how do I have 3 kids? Like, what is happening? Like, who am I?
I know.
What? This is insane.
You are such Earth Mama too,
so
which
funny.
is like which is so funny because like I don't know, like it's so natural for you. Like I watch you as a mom, and I'm like, oh God, she just like knows, she just does it.
That's how I feel about you guys too. Like I watch you, you know, and I think I watch you guys do your thing, and even if it's just on Instagram right now, but there's an effortlessness, and it's just so beautiful. And I think getting your community too as a mom, and like, because that was a really hard thing for me too, to go from like one world to the next and not really having anyone other than my friends that don't have kids to support me in ways that I never thought I needed support or thought that I needed guidance, or, you know, so it's really cool through being a parent, like finding other people that you're just like, wow, how did I meet some of my best friends in my 30s? Like how is that happening? You know, so it's really cool.
Preschool does it.
We met at preschool.
It brings you together. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right before the pandemic.
Oh God. Well, that will make a fast and furious friendship, I feel
it
like.
It really did.
How did you know that you wanted to have a third?
So we didn't really, it wasn't like we knew we wanted a third. It kind of just, we kept talking about it, being like, is this it? Like, is 2 it? What, like, what's the vibe? You know, where are we at? And I kept kind of saying, I don't know, you know, I don't know. I could be done, or I could not, or it honestly it just happened. We were just like, let's not overthink it. Let's see if it happens. And it actually took longer than expected. So we were kind of like also thinking, maybe that's a sign. Maybe we shouldn't, you know, maybe we're good. And then of course I get pregnant. And then we're just
it's always the way.
I get pregnant. We decide to move cities. We decide so much happens in that moment, you know, and so much happens. And I'm just, again, feeling out of whack. I'm like, all I wanted was this last pregnancy, to be in the house that I am comfortable in, to be with the doctor that I'm comfortable with the doula that I'm comfortable with friends that I know, like all these things. And of course, classic us, I'm thrown into a whole thing, moving, just the unknown of who I'm going to use, who's going to be my doctor. What am I, again, I'm at this place where I'm like, shit, what am I going to do? You know? And I'm like, I thought now I would have known.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, I am now on the hunt for a whole new team, because at first I thought maybe I should just drive to LA for my birth. Like, we're just gonna drive.
Oh my God.
Never make it.
I'm having,
oh my God.
You know, I'm having the baby on the side of the road. So I started asking around, and we live in Santa Barbara now. And I just, everywhere I kind of turned, I couldn't get someone. I couldn't find someone I was into. I couldn't connect with anyone. I was also really, I think I blocked it all off. I was like, I don't want to connect with anyone. Do you know what I mean? Like I was almost at that place where I was like, ugh, whatever, maybe I should just have a baby in my bed. Maybe I should just happen like that. Like I just, literally, I was like, I don't want I don't want new people in my life. I don't want nothing. So
yes.
Anyway, so I kept hearing about this one doctor that I'm like, what is her deal? Like, why? Like, she could apparently close her practice, but it's the only name coming up. When I tell you guys, I'm reaching out to 1,000,001 people, and her name is the first name that they keep saying. So I'm like, okay, well,
there's got to be something.
I can't get her because she closed her practice. So why is everybody giving me? Anyway, we have a friend that lives out here, and her doctor actually worked with this doctor, and she was like, let me see what I can do. I'm gonna see, and she was like, okay, I got a Zoom. Like my doctor talked to her. I got a Zoom. She wants to meet you. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
What? This is crazy. I'm like, I'm meeting the president. Like, should I get ready? Oh my God. I'm like, so I meet her. Her name is Melissa Drake, Dr. Melissa Drake. And we're on the Zoom, and I'm in LA and she's here. And it's funny because I just saw her the other day for dinner, and I told her like one thing that so stuck with me from the minute we met each other, because we met each other and I think we both needed to get a vibe from each other. And at the time, I didn't know she was not taking patients at all. I thought maybe she's like picking and choosing. She closed her main practice that she's just like, anyway, so we meet each other and I'm like, okay, I like her vibe. She's not my doctor, but she's not the one that I love, that I know, that I'm like, but yes, she's going to take me on. And I tell her all my birth stories. I tell her how they went. I tell her everything. And she was like, and a doctor's never told me this. She was like, you're a perfect candidate to have a natural birth, just to like have an all natural birth. And I was like, I don't know if you just heard all my birth stories, but that's not that's not my goal. Or maybe it is. Like, that's what I really want for myself. And that's what I really like craved for, but I was not trusting myself. So I was like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to feel that again, So I was like, don't pressure me into anything. I just want nothing. So cut to we're in our house in Santa Barbara, and I'm seeing her, on the weekly or 2 weeks or whatever. And she keeps just like, she's like, do you want a doula? Or did you have a doula? Do you want one now? I'm like, you know what? Again, I'm like, I don't think so. I was like, I think I'm just going to wing this one. I'm just going to wing it. Like,
why not?
I don't want anyone. And again, it was this thing of like, I just didn't want new people in my life. And I felt so with the pregnancy, my pregnancy was really great, but I also felt really lost again. Like I felt really, like I almost didn't want anyone to see how lost I am in my thoughts and my strength, that I think now looking back and I like get emotional, because I think that's a reason why I also tried to like not really get anyone to help me out, because I was just so confused again. And I was like, why am I feeling this? And I'm like, I'm stronger now. Like I know all these things. So she tells me about a doula. She's like, meet this doula. If you don't like her, there's other ones, say, just see if you connect. So she comes in, her name is Anastasia Stone, and love her vibe. Like her, like hippie, her kids surfing, they're from here, like her husband, just like basically barefoot in my house. Like I love her so much. And we connect right away. But she's like, let's go on walks. Let's talk about what you want for this birth. Let's do this. And I was like, I don't want to. Like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to walk and talk. I don't want to walk and talk about it. I just want to give birth. I don't want to talk about it. I'm good. I was like, I don't want to build. I just don't. Anyway, so she really helps me. She gives me these affirmations, this like paper just to talk through how births goes and how you're on a wave and you go up and up and up. And then once when you think you can't do it anymore, like So I'm reading these things and I'm just, again, so disconnected from it all. And I just feel so, I don't know, like alone. So weird, because I was I was like, I'm stronger than this. Like, why am I fighting this? But I know why, because I think my other two, I was just, and now I'm in a new place with new people. And I'm like, I don't want to, and I'm such a weirdo that I'm like, I don't want to disappoint the doctor. I don't want to disappoint. I don't want to disappoint, that they think I can do it. What if I don't believe in myself and then I'm disappointing them? This is what I'm thinking.
Bless your heart. And when you're pregnant, you're so vulnerable as well. Like there's a real vulnerability. So vulnerable.
But as I get to know these women better, I'm just like, I feel so taken care of and I feel so seen and I feel so, they're like, dude, whatever you want, like who cares? Like nobody's trying to do anything. Yes. And I'm just getting the support and I'm just feeling, I'm starting to feel, okay, like I got this. I still don't know what I want. Still don't know what I want for the birth, but I just know like I feel supported and I feel great. Yes. So by the time the birth comes, I'm 10 days past due. I'm like, I thought this baby is going to fall out. Okay. She keeps,
sounds like winter.
She keeps coming to check me. And she's like, you're 4 centimeters dilated, 0 contractions, no nothing. I'm just here. I'm like, this is insane. And my husband's little brother, he kept making bets that it's going to be on his birthday. And his birthday was, I think, 10 days after my due date. I was like, Sam, there's no way this baby comes on your birthday. The baby came on his birthday. Okay. Like, shocker of all shockers. I'm like, this is insane.
No.
The baby came on his birthday. But
what?
So
he manifested that
manifested it. I was like, don't do that to me. I can't go over. I was like so over being pregnant too. I'm like, don't do that to me, Sam. Yes. And he did.
Yes.
Anyway,
damn it, Sam.
So I do acupuncture. She comes to scrape me 50 times. I'm like, this baby is just so comfortable. Anyway, finally, I think by the 2nd or 3rd acupuncture, I'm in bed and it's like 2 a.m. I'm like, wait, I'm feeling something. So I'm like, get up and go to the bathroom and it comes, those, and you're like, oh yeah, here we go. But they're really far apart and they're very sporadic and they're kind of all over the place. So I don't wake Adam up. And by 3, but I text my doula. I'm like, I think something's happening, but I'm not sure what, because it's really different than the other two. And like it's just I'm getting a contraction and then 20 minutes will go by, but then 5 minutes between each other. And then 20, it was so crazy. It was like this roller coaster that I couldn't figure out.
Interesting. Yeah.
So my doctor came to the house actually to check, because it was 3 a.m, to check my how dilated I was. And I think she said stretchable, or I forgot how they it wasn't a full,
they can stretch you to a certain,
I think to 7, but
what?
Yes. So she's like, I think we should all get in the car.
Is Adam still asleep?
No, Adam's up now at this point. I'm also sitting on the ball. I'm like bouncing off, on the ball. I'm like, okay, let's
oh my God,
let's get this. So we go to the hospital. They also, first time I had to get COVID tested and wait in the room, to wait for that result. Yes. And they also only test the mom, which I found so strange. I'm like,
that is anyway, very odd.
Very strange. Yeah. It was Cedars.
Yeah,
like that
it was really weird. But I get to the hospital and this is where everything just changes for me. Like, I walk into the room. Mind you, my doctor is with me. She's walking into the hospital room with me, my doula.
With you.
Wow. And Adam. So it's 3 of us. And I love also Cottage Hospital at Santa Barbara. It's just the cutest. From when you go from Cedars to Cottage, I'm like, this is amazing. Like, I love this place.
Oh my God.
It's just tiny and really intimate and really nice. And anyway, so I'm getting ready. I'm putting on my stuff, like my, I don't even know, just hospital gown or something. And Adam's playing music. I remember we're in the room and we're cracking jokes. And at this point, my contractions they're coming in strong. they're coming in strong and hot, but I'm getting these really long moments of like pure joy. Just like I feel like nothing, just like that, when you're just in that, you're riding that wave
in between.
And I'm also walking around. Adam's playing music. We're laughing. Me and the doctor and doula, and we kept, we had this one meme that was the funniest thing in the world in that moment that we could not stop watching. So every single time my contraction stops, like we watch the meme and all just burst out laughing. And
oh my God. So, and your doctor has been with you this whole time?
So she's with me the whole entire time. She never left.
Wow.
She's watching, and at one point I remember I was kind of over the bed, standing, like holding Adam's, like he's on the other side of the bed, I'm on this side, and I'm just holding. So every contraction, I'm like, I had to squeeze someone so hard. So he was the person that I would like grab and just squeeze so hard and then stop and be like, okay, let's watch that meme again. Like, let's just.
Yes. Oh my God. Sublime is playing.
Oh, we're so much fun. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, I'm not laying on a bed. I'm not, I'm standing, I'm dancing. I'm kind of like just doing my thing. And the doctor's like, I was doing these eight formations with my hips and my kind of, because that was the thing that felt really good. And she was like, keep doing that. Like, that's going to help your head, all this pain. And there was a distinct moment where, the contractions was insane. But again, this kid like gave me so much time in between really bad contractions to recover and laugh and like really see this as such a different thing that,
oh my gosh,
my doctor at a certain point was like, I just want to let you know, this is kind of the point. If you were going to get anything, we can't, like, this is it. And she was like, it's up to you. You're, nobody's putting pressure on you. Do what you feel. And I looked at her and I looked at Adam and looked at Anastasia and I was like, I feel really good. I think I'm just gonna go with this feeling right now. Like, I don't want to change it. I felt so empowered. I know, me too. I was like, I'm going to go with this feeling. I feel so empowered. I was like, let's just keep doing this. I feel like this is great. Cut to like 20 minutes later when I'm in active labor and I'm just like screaming on top of my lungs. But I had like this freedom to move around the room and to do whatever I wanted to do. And she was so amazing. And Anastasia was so amazing by coaching me into different places and asking me if I wanted the handlebar in the bed, and like where I wanted to go. And at one point they were like, do you want to get in the water? And I was like, absolutely not. I cannot think about something worse right now than to be wet. I don't know why I was like wet, being wet right now.
That's amazing. Yes. I was like, it's so crazy how different everybody is. Yes.
And I was like, no way, no water is getting on this body. I'm staying very dry. And I was also standing and the doctor kept kind of checking. I never knew that when you are ready to push, like this upper part of your back, the lower part of your back kind of comes out because I guess the head bulges. So they kept checking me for that. Mm-hmm. Never knew that. And then when it was time to when my body started feeling like, oh, it's time to push, I was on the bed, like hands and knees on the bed, and it was, I think I died and gone to heaven and to hell simultaneously and then came back to my body and I was like, okay. And I get a breather. I'm like, and then it happens again. And I'm at this point where I'm like, I think I'm dead. Adam, I was at one point, I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it. I think I'm dying. Yeah. Yes. And then nothing. And then I'm just like in this moment. And I remember at one of my, you remember the 3D scan, when they do, they were like, oh, the baby's head is the guy. It was a guy. Okay. Did my scan. And he was like,
of course.
He was like, baby has a big head. And I'm like, excuse me? what? and I so going into this birth, I'm like, oh, I forgot the baby is
oh no,
big head.
Dude,
oh my
he
God.
didn't.
You're not allowed to do that.
Yes, but this doctor anyway. And my OB would always be like, don't listen to him. Don't listen to him.
Yes.
Everything's fine. You're normal, whatever. So I'm pushing. And I think the hardest part for me was when I was so exhausted, but I was like, I was in this like state of bliss, but also insane pain and bliss and pain and bliss. And I was like fighting this kind of like roller coaster of, you know, feelings and pain like levels. And I was like, this is okay. When are we stopping? And there's an amazing photo that my doula showed me that 12 minutes before I gave birth, before he came out, she took a picture and I was laughing. And looking back at that, I was like, wow, that's so crazy. Because in that moment, it was tunnel vision for me. I was just like, get through this. And when I started, I remember when I started feeling the ring of fire and he was coming through, and my doctor and everybody was telling me, through the whole thing, which I thought was so amazing and so crazy that this was the first time that I really heard someone telling me this, is when I was going through pain, because the pain got really bad really fast. And they were like grunt, like because I would scream and kind of like a higher pitch, you know, and I was kind of there and holding it in. And they kept saying like go deep, like take that grunt into your belly, like vibrate, like use those vibrations. And it was crazy how much relief that gave me through really hard contractions and moments. And, you know, that I felt I was just like so enlightened by all these women around me being like, wow, you guys are actually like I'm feeling so seen and taken care of and just so held. And like, you know, even in my darkest moment where I'm like in my head thinking I can't do this and I want to kind of leave the room and, you know, I was like, can someone else take over for a minute? Like, let me just, can I just like get 10? You know? That even when I started pushing and they were like, don't push, like just blow out a million candles. And I've been hearing this from a lot of people where I think you guys had, what's her name on? Abby. Yes, someone who was talking about Nikki, all of them. I think all these natural,
or rumor,
natural home births, and it's like blow out candles and grunt and like go into that like kind of like mammalistic kind of, you know, animalistic place of just like grunting and like making all these crazy noises. And Adam even like, he was right there with me every step of the moment. Like it was so great. Even for him, for the birth was so different and so insane. Like he talks about it now all the time because he was like, it was his favorite thing to watch and to be there and to help me through it and like be able to, and people telling him what to do to help me too. Like like putting him there where she would have been, like, you know, like just really making this into such a beautiful experience for everyone. And I think the worst part of it and the best part was when the ring of fire and he was coming, like he was crowning, and I just couldn't get him out. Okay. I couldn't get his big head out. And I was, oh my God, I was sitting there thinking to myself, I don't think I'm going to make it. You know, I don't think I can push another push. And by the third push, so my other two, I feel like I pushed when it was one push and they came out. And with him, I sat there, and it was so like, not eye-opening, what's the word? I'm going to get to it. But I sat in that feeling for so long, and I felt so connected with him because I was like, this baby is working just as hard as I am and wants to get out wants to get out just as much as I want him out. And sitting in that moment of the craziest pain of my life and having to breathe through that and to help, like for us both to kind of help each other through it was so crazy that it took like 3 crazy pushes to get him through. And the moment it was done and over. And I mean, the emotional, like that the drug that fills your body. What is it? The hormone,
the endorphins,
and that love and that
the oxytocin.
Oh my gosh! But I sat there and I was just so amazed by women in general. I was like, wow! Like I freaking did this time, and I believed in myself, and I have this amazing birth story, and I felt I was like, working with the baby, and I could feel like the two of us working together. And that's what I think was so amazing when finally the birth happened and I was holding the baby, that we both, I swear we looked into each other's eyes and was like, whoa. Like I looked and looked up at me with those, those puffy eyes, and just like both of us exhausted and so happy. And I just like remember that moment between us, like that connection that is just unbeatable. It's crazy.
That moment when you pushed him out.
I'm hot just thinking.
I know. The moment when you pushed him out, were you on hands and knees? Were you like, what was your configuration?
The moment I pushed him out, I had the bar. So I was like pulling myself up on the bar, and kind of my knees were, which was crazy too. Just, there were so many positions too that I would get in that I would be like, no. Like, I can't do this. I need to stand up. I need to walk around. Like, I cannot lay down. And it was the first time too that I realized why it was so hard for me to give birth to my first one, because I was laying down the whole entire time. Yes. I was on my back. Yeah. And nobody gave me the freedom, or told me that, or if I had the freedom, I didn't know I had the freedom. There wasn't like, I was just on my back. And I think at one point, they did have, I think Cedars have a ball and all of that stuff, but it just wasn't presented to me as something that I could do really. I don't know. So, so at the end, I gave, I had the bar and gave birth like that. And Adam was right there. He cut the, she also left, she left the cord on until it stopped pulsing, which I love and appreciated that. And he cut it off, and he's a lefty. So the scissors, it's always a mess. But
oh my God.
It's great.
Was he so nervous?
So nervous
to cut it?
Yeah. And I think his because it was also on his brother's birthday, so they had donuts, and Adam had about a dozen donuts because nervous eating.
Oh my God,
stress eating.
Oh nervous eating. But it was just such a crazy experience that I didn't even think. I just listened to my body and the universe and the moment, like the vibe. I was big on vibe that day. I'm like, the vibe feels good.
Yeah. The vibe feels good. Which is it's so amazing, because you were like, okay, I don't want to be out of control like I was. And then I'm like, okay, I don't want to be that in control. But you really did the coolest thing, which is that you just decided to trust your intuition and kind of follow that and let it guide you. And we had somebody on here one time who talked about throwing herself into the abyss and landing, what was it, on a feather bed?
On a bed
Is that what she said?
Yeah, on a bed. On a bed of feathers. Yeah.
And so, but it's so cool because you think about those moments when you were talking about, when you felt like you were going to die, when you're pushing and you're in transition, that you're that crazy part, you're starting to push, it feels so intense and you feel like you're going to die. And then it's it takes you to the point of where you absolutely feel like there's no return, and then it releases. And there's something about that journey that's so powerful. And then the fact that it was you and your baby, you and your baby, you were doing it together. I don't know, there's there's a crazy bonding, unbelievable like experience when that happens, right? I mean, it's so beautiful. Oh my gosh.
It's just so cool. And that moment, I feel like that moment that you're just like, I don't think I can do it, and they give you that, that time in between, that rest time. And then, it's just insane. Birth is insane.
It's so brilliant.
Crazy. It's brilliant. It's really
crazy.
Brilliant.
It's wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's the true definition of wild. Like you're just an animal.
You're a wild animal.
And you are so, I feel like listening to your births, and I just love the progression of them, like from your first birth to your second to your third, really feels like you land in a place of like such presence, and like you were able to get out of your own way, able to get out of your head and just be in a moment to moment.
Yeah.
And whenever we talk to people about birth, like we always use the word surrender. If you're surrendering to the experience and not bringing in past births or fear of like what could happen. Like I tore in my first birth, and then I had that as a narrative in the back of my mind, like, is that going to happen again? Is it going to happen again? And then it didn't happen the second time. It didn't happen the third time. It didn't happen the fourth time.
Yeah.
And you're able to just sort of let go and be present. I always feel like my favorite birth experiences personally have been letting go of the control, the overthought, and just being in it. And far out, it's like such a wild, remarkable thing, birth. And I'm so grateful that you shared this with us. I was hooked at your party. There was so much going on.
I know.
Was like, tell me more. Oh my God.
Tunnel vision.
Totally. I was like, oh my God. And then what? And then what?
I know.
It was just,
It is crazy just the build of the 3 different births, like how different they are. And I feel like people can really relate to it, and how it's not like we're not always strong, and we're not always just like, I had a beautiful home birth, and like that all comes from so much preparation and thought and anxiety, and and sometimes not trusting yourself enough to go there, and that's what happened to me. And I think with this last one, feeling that power that I was able to go there and trusting myself and surrendering, in that moment where they kind of gave me the choice, and I chose to just surrender. And that's now my part of my journey, and I just feel, I'm like, so many things happened between the first and the last birth that I just, and I still, to this, if I have a fourth one, I won't be able to tell you what I will do.
That's amazing.
I know.
But that's like the lesson.
I know I would never, I won't never say never. But I just don't know. I'm like, maybe next time I'll just do it, at home or in my pool, or maybe I don't want to get wet. I don't know.
But I love that you're like, no water is going to touch this body.
Water. I remember it so distinctly. I was like, there's no way. There's just no way.
That's so funny. So for me, I could not imagine giving birth like a land birth. I have to be in the water birthing. Yeah. Having water births. Everyone's so different.
So different.
The moment I get anywhere, I'm like, run me a bath. I need to be in the water.
But you know what? I think if that was maybe at my own home, I would have felt different. But it was the fact that I was at a hospital and it was like fluorescent lighting in the bathroom. And I'm like, there's no way you're getting my body naked right now in that tub.
Yeah. I tried. I honestly felt like they had put an elephant in a bucket when I got into the shower at Cedars with Winter. They turned the water on and I was standing in there like hitting everything. Like I would turn and turn and turn. And this shower curtain was sticking to my side of my body. And I was like, oh my God.
Worst nightmare.
No. It was such a nightmare. Wow. And then I was like, it's so hot. And it like set me off into this like, I'm overheated. Yeah. I've overheated the baby. Like I was off in like that sort of chaos. So I totally get it. Cause it was just like at home, it felt so good to be in the water. But when you're in your own space, you feel so different. Like, it's just like, I loved it. Like, they gave the two of them, because it was such a collaborative birth, like that they gave Adam things to do and had, and ways to help you through, and that he was able to experience being a part of that as well, which is just like, for a part, like when you're with your partner in birth, like it's so nice to be able to connect with them and to be able to like breathe through some of that together. So that's just amazing hearing that.
And they didn't even really tell him. It was such a honestly, I don't know what, it was just the universe like working perfectly in that moment, because with all of us, and we all just felt like we knew what to do, because he, in tune. He was just there when I needed someone to hold on to, and that was the person I was holding on to the whole entire time, and then he was like, I need to go pee, like someone needs to take over. And then at one point he said he had to take his ring off because I was squeezing him so hard that he had like 2 rings on or something, that was pinching him. Also, something I just remember, I was using so much of my strength to grab onto things and like squeeze things to get through it, that I had the craziest like joint pain for like a month. Like my hands, like I would wake up and my hands would be stiff like this. Like when I try to open them up, they would hurt so bad. It was so crazy.
And you're just doing what you need to do in the moment without thinking about.
You really stepped into your power.
I really stepped into my power. I was like, I just remember stepping into that power and just being so, like immersed in it that I couldn't physically go on. That's why when I had my high moments, I was using all this power that if I didn't get a break, I would literally pass out.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So cool.
This was so inspiring. And I know that there are like thousands and thousands of people listening to this being like, oh, she can do it. And she had the same sort of feelings that I had surrounding birth and the same sort of anxieties. And like, that's what I love so much about it. It isn't like, you've been doing all the research and like, I just like birthed in the creek and I've always just wanted to do that. And I had no fear. And like, it was an orgasmic birth. It wasn't one of those. It was like, holy shit, this is insane. I'm afraid. I love that. And I just think it will be so empowering and helpful to people. So thank you so much for being so generous and sharing your story with everyone. I just knew that it had to be heard because I think it's going to be really impactful. So thank you so much.
Thank you guys for giving us all this platform to talk about all the good things. I love listening to you guys too. I tell Sarah all the time, I'll like put on my LED face mask and just listen to a podcast. And I'm like, I did the thing. I did my thing this week. Self-care.
Yes, girl.
I love it. Oh my gosh. That's it. Yes. That makes us so happy. Well, thank you so much for coming on, for sharing and all your birth stories, which is just like, I think it just goes to show everybody out there that like every birth is so different and you don't have to get stuck into one narrative and just like, we had this amazing OBGYN come on one time and he was saying, with each birth, like if you can let go of what it is that, happened before and just allow this to be a new experience, then it's so helpful because then you're walking into something and you're like, what's this going to be like? And that's exactly what you did.
But that's also the hardest thing to do as a human being.
It's so hard. It's so true. It's so hard to surrender is the hardest. It's like, that is meditation for birth. That's for sure. But that's really difficult. Ugh, we love you.
We love you guys.
We love it.
You're the best.
We love you.
I can't wait for a little hang.
Oh, me too. Can't wait.
I know.
I love you so much.
Love you guys.
Thank you for doing this. Daisies, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We love you, Daisies. We love you,
Bye.
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 Love you guys.